problems facing Thomas Frank. Told that some in the dressing room are dissatisfied with him. A text here says Frank was supposed to be a coach that develops young players. We have a young squad. Instead of improving them, they seem to be standing still or getting worse. Describes himself as a disgruntled Tottenham Hotspur season ticket holder. How long do you think you really require to... I mean, look, how long's a piece of string? How long do you require to settle into a job and prove your worth, Coisty, do you think? Because we know in this day and age, the time you're given is less and less and less.
Of course it is. Well, the fact that Arne Slot's under pressure, or people are wanting, calling for his head, would indicate that. Thomas Frank, I get it, is under pressure because of the results. There's no doubt about that. But at what point, and we keep saying it, Jeff, at what point do we look at the entire structure of Tottenham Hotspur? Because from what we're seeing, we're going to have to say that Mourinho, Nuno, Conte, Postecoglou, they've all got it wrong, and Thomas Frank's another one that's just getting it wrong. Now that might be the case, but I think it has to go deeper than that, and it has to go to recruitment, and the structure of the club as well. That's where I am. But in terms of the question you asked me, I know it doesn't happen, but I think a manager in an ideal world should at least get 2 windows to get his own players in. I get there are managers and coaches can come in and change things with the same players. No, I'll use Man United at the weekend as an example of that. They've still got a long way to go, and there'll be nobody getting carried away other than the fact that they should enjoy the result of a thoroughly deserved victory in a derby game, and they've got a long, long way to go. But there are cases where managers and coaches can come in and get another tune out of players. But generally speaking, if the players aren't good enough, they'll slip back to old ways and get back to norm. And I think Tottenham, I think the players are, to be brutally honest, Jeff, I think the players are underachieving, but only by about 3 or 4 league positions, to be brutally honest with you.
Yeah.
I really do.
Paul, who's a Spurs fan, says, why don't we do something we haven't done before and give the manager more time? Let's get the views of some other Spurs fans, shall we? Wolf has given us a call. He's a Spurs fan. Morning, Wolf.
Morning, Wolf.
Morning, boys. How are you?
Yeah.
Very well, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Well, not so great after Saturday. So,
we had Paul. Paul texted a moment ago, said, let's give the manager more time. Where do you stand?
I was in that camp, but after the last 2 home results, you can't be in that. His football's too negative for a Tottenham team. He had Odobert Tell narrow with Simmons on Saturday, and you're sitting in the mid-tier watching it, and they should just be wide. You can see what needs to be done, and his tactics, he's supposedly this tactician, are just not good enough.
I'd like to ask you the question, mate, and you mentioned a few names there. Odobert, Simmons, Tell, Colomiani through the middle. Now, I just don't think that's a strong enough front line to be competing in the top 4 or top 5 or even the top 6, to be honest with you. I think Spurs have got a reasonable reason, not an excuse, a reason for some of their poor performances in forward areas, because I think you're missing really, really key players. But I would ask you the question, looking at your squad, where should your squad be?
Well, we've got injuries, but Simmons has been brought in as a sort of marquee signing, hasn't he? I know we're missing Maddison and Kulu, but, the other boys, Tell was 30 million. Frank obviously agreed with it at the start of the season, and he shouldn't have come off on Saturday. He gives his all. Mawani, there's a reason why he's going around the loan clubs, isn't there? Because he's not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wolf.
Sorry, mate.
No, go on. You go on, mate. You go on.
You can see the discontent in the dressing room, on the pitch. Part of that's the crowd, because as soon as they place a bad pass, they know that they're going to be on them. But, Frank is just too negative. All right, Postecoglou was probably too much the other way. We need something in between. The players needed to be 10 yards up the pitch. If you watch any football, Our midfielders are playing around with it in front of our own box. It's never going to end if they're not good enough in a good result, is it?
Wolf, thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Wolf.
Let's get another perspective. Lee is a Spurs fan. Morning, Lee.
Come on, Lee.
Yeah, morning, lads. I think Thomas Frank should get a sack just for the way that he chews chewing gum. Does my head in. I can't stand it. But joking aside, you can have Thomas Frank, Jose Mourinho, and Conte, all three managing Spurs together, and you will still get the same result. When is people going to learn and understand, right, that we are run badly, very, very badly and poor? All they're interested in is making money for themselves. They want to buy potential young players, right? They run it like a business. They want to buy potential young players who hopefully are going to be quality, right? But they keep getting it wrong. We've got a bunch of average players, right? They belong in the Championship, let alone the Premiership, right? If ENIC, our owners, right, they're not interested in going out there and buying top players because they've got no desire to be a top team. It's all financial gain for themselves. The only people that have benefit is the supporters. And they've got no interest in benefiting the supporters. They're only interested in benefiting themselves financially.
Lee, thank you very much, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Let's get another view. We'll squeeze one more in. David's also a Spurs fan. Morning, David.
Come on, David.
Morning, I'm through to the Tottenham supporters counselling line. I'm based in Sydney, Australia. I've also had to put up with England's efforts in the Ashes as well. So I hope it's been a tough time for me. I hope you can hear me out here in my time of need. This club we've got toxicity in the club as bad as when Conte left and Stellini was in charge and Sanchez was booed off the pitch. As per your previous call, we've had, it's 25 years, we've got the Levy legacy in ENIC. Imagine the rolled up into one of Mike Ashley, Doug Ellis and Peter Swells. The owners have spent more money on property development than players, net. I wanted Frank when he came in because I thought that he would be more of a strategist, tactics in the game, man management, develop players like he did at Brentford. But it's become clear that, unfortunately, the job is too much for him. He's been saddled with a substandard squad, but he hasn't helped himself with his negative tactics, his communication to the supporters about what true fans are. And I think man management-wise, I think that what he's done at Brentford, he's obviously worked with players who are not stars. He's developed them to be stars. But he's come into Tottenham. I know it's a substandard squad, but there are some stars there, and he hasn't managed them properly. It's also a call to you, Johan Lange, who when Emery came in at Villa, Lange was demoted, and then soon he was on his way, only to be recruited by Daniel Levy. And look at the signings that Lange has made and Paratici. The squad's not good enough. Yes, we can give a manager more time, but what we really need is an ownership who would invest meaningfully in the squad. I'm not talking cities and Chelsea's. I'm talking about getting some 250 grand a week oven-ready star players in for a decent spine and leadership, and a manager who strikes the balance between attacking football, which we Tottenham fans are used to and like to see, with a bit of a defence as well. I'm hoping that your counselling will help me in this time of need, gents.
Look, David, we're so pleased that the Spurs helpline can reach out as far as Australia. We really are.
David, before we get any further, I think you're better off you talking about the cricket, to be quite honest.
Oh, no. Let's not go there. David, thanks very much for the call.
Thanks for your call, mate.
Thank you.
Bully quickly has just said, can't keep sacking managers. The players need to take responsibility. Back him in this window, get a new keeper and a good attacking wide player. If everyone is fit, we have a top 6 squad.